Hey guys, Sugar John coming at you with another Diablo Immortal video. This is going to be a kind of a quick one for once. I know I say that a lot, but they're usually not very quick. This one will be quick. We're going to talk about is your skills. Did you know you can see actually how much damage you're going to do off your skills, and what gear you have equipped will actually modify the damage done on your skills? Did you know this? If not, this video is going to be for you, and I'm going to explain to you how you can see that and how you can actually manipulate that to do the most damage in your favor. All right, so for those of you who were unaware, and the reason why this came about is I actually asked my chat if they knew how to tell what pieces of gear modified their skills and how much damage they were actually doing with said skills. A lot of people like to follow guides, myself included. I'd like to make guides so that way I can help you, the viewer, make a little bit more informed choices about what you're going to be doing inside Diablo Immortal, or how to build the most optimal build for your character, right? To be able to do that, there's a few things we need to be able to understand. One is going to be what skills are going to be the most popular to use because they have the best cooldown skills and do the most damage. Second is going to be what synergize the best in the entire build, because you don't want to just pick one skill that's OP if it completely obliterates the rest of the skills that are in the kit. As well as you need to be cognizant of, okay, how much damage are you doing if it's going to be area of effect, if it's going to be single target, or if it's going to be like splash damage or damage over time. These are all aspects that go into building a different build for a character or selecting certain skills that really get optimized, right? For example, the Demon Hunter doesn't have a whole lot of variation with our builds when we go from like PvP to PvE. There's a few skills here and there that kind of get varied, but for the most part, we keep everything almost the same. There's about 2 skills we usually swap out depending on the circumstance. Now, a Crusader will have up to 3 builds. A Monk that I know, for example, we'll use up to 4 different builds, given if it's PvP, if it's PvE, or if it's in the actual mortal fight, because it takes a totally different skill set because you're fighting the big golem. So how do you know what particular skills or what particular legendary units give you the biggest fluck for your buck on your character? So let's show you. So if you hit this 3 up to the top right and you hit skills, I'm sure you guys have all seen this 1,000 times, right? This is where you go in and you pick, hey, I want to use these skills. I want to switch over to this skill. I don't know if this skill is good. I'm going to try it, right? Well, did you also know that when you do this, you can see what do I have that modifies the skills? So for example, I just clicked on Explosive Arrow. Notice this is not equipped as my main stat, but it's got this little exclamation over here. What does this mean? Charm, plus 2% damage. Huh. What does that actually tell me? That tells me that I have a charm that is modifying the amount of damage that this skill can do. This tells me that my damage here is 4,222 damage to the target and all in my nearby enemies. Now, does this 2% get to be applied to this skill? Let's find out. So if I go over here and let's say I just remove this, right? And I go back into skills. Notice that nothing changed there, right? So it's still 4,222. 1,055, but notice that that whole line is gone. So then if I go back to my ability and I equip this particular Grand Charm, you'll see the boost there. And if I come back to skills, you will see that it did not actually do the math for me. So this means that I'd have an additional underlying 2% damage that's added to the skill. So keep that in mind, because sometimes when you think you have equipped something that has modified the amount of damage on your skill, that does not mean that it's actually modified it, right? So that's something to keep in mind because we didn't do the math here. So now you need to do the math. You say, okay, well, this is, if I pull up my handy dandy calculator, to show up on the right side of the screen over there, you will see that I have 4,222 here, and then let's multiply that. Multiply that, John. Multiply, not a dot. There we go. Multiply times 2%. I now do an additional 84% or 84 damage to my 4,222 damage for this impact. 4,306, and that also translates to the amount of nearby damage. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. However, those numbers aren't updated in real time, so you have to keep that in mind. Well, one easy way to do this is to click on each skill and see, what do you have equipped that is modifying the skill? For example, my charm is giving me plus 4% damage to my knockback shot. My vengeance it's getting a few different multipliers. Now, notice that down here in the green, you can see where the numbers did change. This is where this gets a little interesting, because this is because of the legendary legendary pieces of gear that I have equipped. So because I have 2 pieces of gear that modify Vengeance's cooldown and duration, notice that Vengeance's cooldown is decreased by 10% from the helm, and that I have the modifier from the boots here that does more damage here. I also have Vengeance cooldown decreased by 15% because of the chest. So notice that these kind of stack together, right? We have both of these and they've stacked together. And now we know that we have a 10% subtraction to the actual cooldown for Vengeance, which is a 20-second cooldown. So that's quite a bit of a buff, right? That's quite a bit of a change here. And then on top of that, I also have Bottled Hope, which limits it even more. Unfortunately, Bottled Hope does not show here, but what we can see is that each piece of gear will tell you how it modifies each piece of other gear, or each skill, so to speak. So my head modifies Vengeance, it tells me. My legs modify Vengeance, it tells me this. So on and so forth. Now, if I go over to multi-shot, you'll see that I have from my hands, right? Flaming Arrow, multi-shot now fires flaming arrows that deal 4,200 initial damage and burn enemies for additional over 4 seconds, right? Whereas at the top, it just says this is a damage for this amount. This is just a base damage without any modifier. Now this is a damage modifier with a damage over time. This also means skills like Rain of Vengeance over here, I currently have a piece boot that does, or not boot, sorry, a shoulder that changes this to a chill, right? Now, does this mean that 40% chill and dealing this damage over 4 seconds, does this replace this main stat? I'm not entirely sure yet. I think it technically does. However, I don't know that for sure, but I know if I go in here and say I wanted to really calculate how much damage I could be doing, if I go over here, I can change the inherent of my shoulders to whatever I wanted. So say I want to change them to, let's change this to Shadow Beast. Okay, let's say this just does Shadow Beast and just drops bombs, right? Let's say it does this. What did that do for my skill? Well, I can click over here. I can click on my Rain of Vengeance skill, and I can see that it says Rain of Vengeance instead summons bomb dropping flying Shadow Beast, inflicting 32-35 damage on enemies in a direction and stunning them for 0.4 seconds. So does this mean I actually lost this and it's a lower modifier at this point, but it also has a chance to stun? I don't know. I'm assuming that's how this is working. I think that by this little asterisk here, it shows what the modification is to that skill and that ability. Because this will tell you straight up, this is what this will do for you, okay? So I think that's how this works, is this changes the modifier and shows you what it now does. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. However, I want you guys to be aware that this is a possibility, so that way you know how to handle this appropriately. If you would like to go through and maybe, for example, you don't understand what the difference is between, oh, what's better here on my chest or on my shoulders? Is it better for me to summon Shadow Beast that dash forward? Do I damage with frost and chilling? Do I, depending on what the aspect is that you're trying to achieve, now you can see, okay, if I equip this, what does this actually do to my skill? So that's what we were trying to make you aware of here. And I want you guys to all know this, so that way moving forward, you have a good idea of what you're actually doing with your build and whether it's going to help you become stronger, or maybe you find a build that you enjoy, but maybe it does a lot less damage. Also, I did want to announce I'm going to be working on a spreadsheet very, very soon with Build Shot Gaming and Chosen, where we break down the amount of damage done per second per skill. So that way, when you select these type of skills, we're going to utilize this math mechanics over here to help you understand exactly how much damage each skill can do and what possible gear can modify that. And eventually this is going to get plugged into our website, diablopro.gg, to where you can actually just do a straight up builder, straight across the line, where you pick each individual piece of gear on each build, and then it will tell you exactly how much damage you can do, given the nature of your gems, given the nature of your charms, everything that you have to offer, so that way you have an accurate representation of how strong your character is. But that's going to be way down the line. Give us about a month and we'll have that, and then hopefully the API gets released, and then we can actually pull it in, and that can all be done in real time, and we don't have to make sure our calculations are as correct as we would if we didn't have the API. So But that's going to be it for the video. I told you it was a quick one. This is like 10-minute video. That's pretty fast for me. But the big thing is I just want you guys to be aware that you can see exactly what skills and what pieces of gear you have equipped will actually modify the skills that you are using on your character. And I wanted you guys to be aware of this so that way you know if you are possibly picking a piece of gear or a legendary piece of gear that doesn't actually synergize with your build. Because I know a lot of people are. Also, a lot of people are really hesitant about this whole inherit for your different pieces of gear. Don't be afraid to inherit all the gear that you want to do. Just put your best stats in the best slot and then just inherit away. And it's totally fine. Don't be nervous. It's part of the game mechanic. Blizzard definitely tries to make us get confused on some of these mechanics so that way they can benefit a little bit more from it. But don't worry, we'll uncover the truth. Come join us over at the Diablo Immortal Aftershock United Discord server. The link is down below. If you'd like to join us over there, we talk daily. We have multiple content creators that constantly release videos every single day to help you and make this game a lot better for you. Definitely want to take advantage of all those resources. Do not be left out in the cold because you're like, I think I'll figure it out. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope this helped you, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Peace.